Hello, all. This is Dr. Dave Maslach talking about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3, and in this particular video, I really wanted to talk about what is organizational structure of a company, or what is the definition of an organization more broadly. I'm a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I'm just trying to be as helpful as I possibly can. So what I'm going to do in this particular video is give you several definitions of organization by different authors, as well as get into the organizational structure of a company, provide, what is the purpose of organizational structure, and then maybe give you some types of organizational structure or why things are important. So I'm just going to jump right into it right now. So what is the definition of organization by, several different authors? And, it's really actually kind of difficult to sort of define what an organization is, as you probably have figured out at this moment. I teach a course on organizational theory, and we have lots of debates exactly what is an organization, but kind of what we know at this moment is that it's some sort of collectivity of individuals that are pursuing some sort of common goal. And now this kind of changes and stuff like that, depending on who you talk to. And if you start sort of digging down into exactly what it is, right? So pursuing a multiple goal, what does that mean? Well, some managers pursue one thing, some pursue another thing. Do we know what an organization's goal is? It's not necessarily all that clear. If it's a financial sort of firm, right, a company, maybe we think it's sort of financial performance, but then there's sort of operational things as well. There's lots of things going on in the background. The other thing that we can sort of, depending on what you're sort of looking at with an organization, the definition of an organization is going to change depending on sort of what lens you're using or how you're actually looking at that particular organization. So one way is to think of it as a very rational system, that it is pursuing some sort of goal and it's systematically going through like a machine, right? So this is Baum and Rowley point this out they have a book from 2002 that was sort of talking about this. And it's been sort of the vision of a lot of people in organizational theory is thinking about organizations in terms of a rational system where they're pursuing the end goal, which is financial performance, and then we're kind of just plugging through to get that financial performance or efficiency over time. It often doesn't make sense if you think about it, though, because we do a lot of things that are not really all that efficient on a day-to-day basis. It's just we show up to an organization, and sometimes we just like to chit-chat and, belong to something. So it often sometimes doesn't work. This sort of functional system, or the way that we think about it in terms of, a functional system being that there is sort of mechanical parts and they all kind of work together, right? So like there's an R&D arm, there is a marketing arm, and there is, I don't know, what else is there? Sort of operations, they're all kind of working together in the same sort of functioning way. And it often doesn't work that way when we sort of sit down and doing it. If you have a organization that is like a social movement, for example, right? So Black Lives Matters, for example. I mean, how does that all work together? It's kind of mishmash, and it's kind of not so clear. Another sort of view is maybe using it as a tool for decision making, and there is Richard Cyert and Jim March. Jim March is a wonderful person, an excellent scholar, same with Richard Cyert. And they have this idea that organizations are kind of pursuing some sort of, it's a tool for kind of like decision making in some sort of way, but it's not really rational decision making. It's a lot of, like what's called bounded rationality, people doing sort of things to the best of their ability, but often it's not really all that clear what their best of their ability is. And we could also view it as a sort of silo, an organization as a silo of knowledge, right? That they're accumulating knowledge into different tools and different, people and stuff like that. So the definition of organization really does change between the authors or the view that you're using, right? So if you have many different authors, for example, they're all going to have a different view, or the lens that you're going to take is going to change the definition of the organization. That's kind of been known for a fairly long time. There's a great book by Burrell and Morgan, I believe, and I think also Gareth Jones has one that is really great in terms of describing the different, I think it's called The Images of Organization, and he goes into all the different sort of images and how they can be viewed and stuff. It's really excellent in terms of understanding what the, how to understand what an organization is, how to define what an organization is. And we're still grappling with that. It's constantly changing. Right now with, so YouTube videos, for example, what I'm doing, as well as sort of the online stuff, we're moving towards machines, incorporating a lot more machines and stuff like that are doing the same roles as organizations, which is really kind of remarkable, right? That this is happening. This is a fundamentally different thing that we haven't thought about in the past. And I think it's a new insight that we should be really studying, to be honest. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this whole reciprocity project. So, what does an organization sort of consist of? What are the different things that happen in an organization? Well, organization consists of many different things, right? So it could be people, people interacting, and managers and employees interacting. It could be sort of behaviors. We're thinking about different routines that happen. They could be sort of rituals that happen in the organization. We do these things in this way just simply because we do them in this way, right? So I show up and I'm supposed to lecture every single day in, the classroom, and that's just the way that we should do it. That doesn't necessarily exclude the fact that, there's YouTube right now. That's what's really interesting. There is a sort of technology that goes on behind the scenes, right? So all the infrastructure that you have, there is the buildings, the institutions that are there that sort of hold up what an organization is. So the laws and rules and things like that. There's lots of sort of moving parts to an organization. And it also occurs at multiple levels, right? So a level is kind of how you're looking at it, right? So it might be at the individual level, could be at the group level, how organizations work, could be at the company level, where we're looking at, say, mergers and acquisitions. It might also be maybe, intercompany or interfirm level, where you're looking at how multiple firms are interacting. There's lots of different things to how to understand what an organization is, and we've been studying it for a long time. So with that, to sort of explain, what is the definition of an organization? Well, it's not necessarily all that clear often, but we do kind of have this sort of consensus that it is some grouping of people, machines, technology, rituals, behaviors, all this kind of stuff. It's some sort of collectivity of individuals working together to pursue some sort of common goal, whatever that is, and to varying degrees what the common goal is. I think that's kind of fairly standard approach now at this moment to understand what a organization is, and that really varies. It really depends on the situation, right? So what then is organizational structure? So organizational structure is kind of looking at the set of relationships between people within the organization and between the organization. So normally we might think of the organizational structure within the organization. So lots of people have looked at organizational structure. It's kind of some of the older stuff that we've studied in organizational theory, like Lawrence and Lorsch, Burns and Stocker, Philippe César. There's more recent work that's happening, Fenish, Paranam. There's lots of different people that are interested in this, and it went through, Oliver Bowman is another one. It kind of went through, this moment of not a lot of people looking at it, but now lots of people are looking at it again because it's really interesting. Part of it is because of this stuff, right? That we can actually do some of this online things. So what is the purpose of organizational structure? Well, it's helped to facilitate, from my view, decision-making in the organization. It also allows the organization, part of that is to allow for adaptiveness or fitness with the organization and its environment, right? So making sure that the organization fits a lot better than what it did in the past. and that is continuously adapting to the environment. So it might be efficiency or firm performance or something like that of the organization, making sure that it actually fits with the environment a lot more and that it's continuously adapting with what's going on, right? Why is it important? Why is organizational structure important? Well, it allows for a flow of information and decision-making within the organization, right? So without a good organizational structure, or thinking about what an organizational structure is that you can get information overload, you can miss out on sort of novel opportunities, and in general, what we sort of believe is that whenever there's kind of like a mismatch or something like that between the organizational structure and the environment, that financial performance or efficiency is going to fall. There's lots of different types of organizational structure. So, for example, there's formal organizational structures, which is kind of like you might actually have some sort of map of how people are reporting in the organization. It might be informal, which is like how personal communication is actually done, networks within the organization, for example. There's lots of different sort of examples of companies having different organizational structures, for example. So there might be organic structures in some. So it might be high-tech companies might be really organic in the sense that they have low organizational hierarchy, and that people are making decisions low and very low and low end, as well as sort of mechanistic structures where there's a hierarchy and people are sort of looking for efficiency within that. There's lots of different ways to sort of think about organizational structure, and it really is a tricky thing to sort of think about. And I'd encourage you, first of all, to take a course, particularly college courses and stuff like that. My institution has great sort of stuff about this kind of stuff. You can check out where I am. As well as any other institution is going to be really pushing you and sort of thinking about what these things are. So that's it. So in this video, I sort of helped you out on what is the organizational structure of a company. Provided definition of an organization, first of all, and got into what is the organizational structure and what you can do with the organizational structure. Suggested some people that are actually doing this kind of work that you can look into, some of the readings and things like that if you're interested. And definitely trying to be helpful. Anyways, if you like this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. And if you want to learn about more of this kind of stuff, make sure you do check out some of the courses that are available at my institution or anywhere else, or you could check out what I'm doing with the Reciprocity Project. The E is written with a 3. So that's it. Have a good day and take care. Bye.